Most men spend their entire lives believing lies about attraction, and those lies destroy them before the game even begins. They've been told that if they're nice enough, successful enough, or persistent enough, they'll finally win the woman they desire. But what happens instead? They become the background noise in her life, another message in her inbox, another name on her list of admirers. They reveal everything about themselves too quickly. They chase. They give too much. They try to prove their worth to someone who hasn't earned it, and in doing so, they erase the very thing that creates true desire. Niccolò Machiavelli, feared by kings, studied by generals, and whispered about for centuries, understood something that modern men have completely forgotten. Human desire is not built on comfort. It is built on tension, power, and the fear of loss. What makes a woman obsessed is not what she fully understands about you, but what she cannot predict, cannot control, cannot decode. When everything about you is revealed instantly, you are no longer intriguing, you are forgettable. Think about this. The most addictive movies, the most gripping books, the most unforgettable people, they all share one quality. They leave something unsaid. They create questions that demand answers. They make you lean forward, needing to know more. Desire works the exact same way. The moment you reveal everything, the game ends. The moment she knows she can have you whenever she wants, attraction dies. But when you hold back, when you remain a mystery, when you walk away instead of begging to stay, you become unforgettable. This video is not about manipulation. It's not about being cruel, dishonest, or cold for the sake of it. It's about understanding the psychological mechanics of attraction and applying them with precision. Because while other men spend their days begging for attention, explaining themselves, and chasing validation, you will become the man she cannot stop thinking about long after you leave the room. You will be the one she obsesses over, the one she tries to decode, the one she fights to understand. And here's the truth that will shock you. Everything you've been taught about attraction is backwards. Society tells you to overshare, to be vulnerable immediately, to shower her with attention, to make her feel secure from the very first moment. This is exactly why you fail. Not because women are manipulative or cruel, but because human psychology doesn't work that way. Desire is born in uncertainty. Attraction thrives on scarcity, and obsession only grows in the presence of mystery. Machiavelli said it best. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. In relationships, this translates into something you've never been told. It is better to be mysterious than predictable if you cannot be both. Today, I'm going to reveal the principles that flip the game of attraction on its head. Principles rooted in Machiavelli's philosophy, adapted to modern relationships, and sharpened into weapons you can use immediately. By the end, you won't just understand women differently. You'll understand power differently, and once you see it, you can never unsee it. Every man who fails with women has one thing in common. He gives himself away too cheaply. He throws his attention like confetti, hoping that by being constantly available, constantly present, constantly affirming, he will somehow stand out. But here's the harsh truth. When something is always available, it loses value instantly. Think of water in a desert versus water in a city. In a desert, people fight for every drop. In a city, people let it run down the drain without a thought. Your attention, your time, your energy, these are the currency of attraction. And the more common they are, the less they are worth. The woman you want lives in a world of endless validation. Strangers flood her messages, co-workers compliment her appearance, social media showers her with likes and comments. From the moment she wakes up, she is already receiving worship. And what do most men do when they meet her? They join the chorus. They become just another voice singing the same predictable song of admiration, and then they wonder why she doesn't remember their names. Why should she? They gave her nothing to earn, nothing to chase, nothing to value. Machiavelli understood a timeless principle. Scarcity creates power. A prince who is too generous, too forgiving, too available to his subjects is quickly disrespected. Likewise, a man who offers unlimited access to himself becomes disposable. The woman you want does not need another man pouring attention at her feet. She needs someone who withholds just enough to create tension, someone who is present but not predictable, someone who makes her ask questions she cannot answer. Think of the last time you were obsessed with something. Was it something you fully understood? Something that gave you everything without resistance? Or was it something elusive? Something that gave you just enough to keep you chasing, but never so much that you could walk away satisfied? That is the psychology of desire. Obsession is born in the gaps between what we know and what we ache to discover. When you reveal everything about yourself in the first few interactions, you close those gaps. You remove the chase. You remove the intrigue. And with that, you remove attraction itself. This doesn't mean you should play childish games disappearing for days just to provoke a reaction. That kind of artificial scarcity collapses the moment it's exposed. Real scarcity is not about pretending. It's about selectivity. You don't give your full attention to everyone. You don't reveal every thought, every story, every emotion immediately. You reveal strategically. You give carefully. You choose deliberately. And because you choose, your attention has weight. It means something when you give it because it isn't given to everyone. Scarcity, when applied with discipline, transforms you. Suddenly, she is not the one evaluating you. You are evaluating her. She begins to wonder, why isn't he reacting like everyone else? Why doesn't he rush to compliment me? Why doesn't he text me instantly? And in that wondering, attraction is born. Because for the first time, she isn't certain of her power. For the first time, she isn't fully in control. And what people cannot control, they cannot stop thinking about. Machiavelli wrote that rulers must withhold just enough to keep their subjects dependent, never giving so much that loyalty turns to laziness. The same applies here. You are not her servant. You are not her follower. You are not another fan in the crowd. You are the scarcity in a world of abundance. You are the exception, and that makes you valuable. One of the greatest mistakes men make in relationships is believing that giving more will eventually make them win. They think if they text more, call more, show up more, sacrifice more, they'll finally be rewarded with her affection. But here's the truth. Generosity without boundaries doesn't create desire. It creates entitlement. And when you give someone something they haven't earned, they don't treasure it, they take it for granted. Machiavelli would call this a fatal strategic error. Imagine a prince showering his subjects with gifts, money, and favors without demanding loyalty in return. At first they may smile, but soon they expect it. They no longer feel grateful. They feel entitled. And when the prince can no longer give, the people turn against him. The same principle applies in attraction. If you pour endless attention, time, and energy into a woman who hasn't invested equally, you're not creating intimacy. You're creating imbalance. Look at how most men behave. She sends a short, casual text. He replies instantly with paragraphs, pouring out excitement she hasn't earned. She mentions she had a bad day. He drops everything to console her, even if she's never shown up for him in the same way. She delays responding for hours or days. He still replies within seconds, desperate not to lose her attention. What does this communicate? It teaches her that her attention is more valuable than his, that her time outranks his, that her emotions matter more than his. And once that dynamic is established, attraction dies. True power in relationships is built on reciprocity of investment. You give, but you also observe. You show interest, but you measure whether it's returned. You share parts of yourself, but only when she has revealed parts of herself too. This doesn't mean being cold or withholding affection. It means being disciplined. It means refusing to pour into someone who doesn't pour back. It means creating a balance where both sides work to maintain the connection. When you invest more than she does, you create a debt dynamic, but not in your favor. She feels no obligation to repay you because you gave without standards. But when you match energy, when you show that her level of investment determines yours, you create equality. You show that you are not desperate for her validation. You value yourself enough to demand balance. And that balance makes every gesture you give more powerful. When you show interest, it matters, because it isn't guaranteed. When you give attention, it feels like a privilege because it isn't automatic. When you open up emotionally, it creates intimacy because it wasn't handed over freely. It was earned. Machiavelli taught that rulers must never weaken themselves by giving away more power than they receive. A prince who grants endless favors without securing loyalty destroys his own authority. In the same way, a man who gives endlessly without demanding reciprocity destroys his own value. You must operate from strength, not deficit. From selectivity, not desperation. From reciprocity, not sacrifice. And here's where the transformation happens. When you stop over-investing, you force her to step forward. When you don't reply instantly, she starts wondering. When you don't cancel your life to serve her emotions, she notices. When you give less than expected, she begins to earn what once came freely. And in earning it, she values it. That's the psychology of attraction. It's not about how much you give, but how much she has to give to keep you. So ask yourself, are you the man who pours endlessly into someone who hasn't proven worthy? Or are you the man who commands reciprocity, who demands equal investment, who refuses to give his best to someone offering only scraps? The answer to that question determines whether you remain another desperate admirer or the man she cannot forget. If you're ready to take these strategies beyond theory, check the pinned comment. The link I left there is the next step to becoming truly untouchable. Most men believe that if they can make a woman feel comfortable, safe, and secure from the very beginning, attraction will naturally follow. They share everything about themselves on the first date. They tell their life story, reveal every fear, every dream, every mistake. They confess feelings early, thinking vulnerability will create intimacy. But here's the brutal truth. Comfort alone does not create attraction. Comfort builds friendship. Desire, however, is born in mystery. Machiavelli understood something fundamental about human psychology. People are motivated far more by the fear of losing than by the promise of gaining. In politics, this meant a ruler maintained order by ensuring his subjects feared the consequences of disobedience more than they anticipated rewards. In relationships, the same law applies. A woman desires a man not when she fully understands him, but when she realizes she could lose him before she ever truly has him. That tension between security and uncertainty is the fire of attraction. Think about the most captivating people you've ever met. Were they the ones who told you every detail of their lives immediately, or were they the ones who gave you just enough to make you curious, just enough to make you lean in, just enough to leave you with unanswered questions? Obsession is born in the unknown. When everything is revealed too soon, there is no chase, no discovery, no tension. Without mystery, there is no desire. This is why so many men fail. They optimize for comfort, hoping it will lead to love. They believe if they can make her feel safe, predictable, and certain, she will want them. But comfort without tension leads only to friendship. She may appreciate you. She may enjoy your company, but she will not crave you. The spark of desire comes from not knowing everything, from having to guess, from sensing that there is more beneath the surface, from feeling that your attention is not guaranteed. Mystery does not mean being cold, aloof, or distant. It means being intentional about what you reveal and when you reveal it. It means showing her glimpses of depth without giving her the whole map. It means letting your silence speak louder than your words. When she asks about your weekend, you don't need to give her a detailed timeline. A single intriguing detail is more powerful than an entire story. Mystery is not deception, it is discretion, and discretion is power. Now consider what happens when you live this principle. She starts leaning in, she asks more questions, she thinks about you long after the conversation ends. She tells her friends about you not because of what you said, but because of what you didn't say. Your unpredictability forces her mind to work, and the more mental energy she invests in trying to decode you, the deeper her attraction grows. Machiavelli wrote that the prince who reveals too much loses authority, because predictability kills respect. The same is true in attraction. If she always knows exactly what you'll say, how you'll react, when you'll text, you become boring. But if she can't fully predict you, if she feels there's always more to uncover, she will stay hooked. Curiosity is the fuel of obsession, and mystery is the flame that keeps it burning. So remember this: comfort alone builds safety, but mystery builds desire. If you want to be the man she leans on for advice, tell her everything. But if you want to be the man she loses sleep over, the man she checks her phone for, the man she cannot stop thinking about, you must remain just out of reach. Not distant, but unpredictable. Not cold, but selective. Not fully revealed, but always intriguing. Mystery is not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about revealing your authentic self strategically, layer by layer, never all at once. Because the moment you become an open book, you stop being a story worth reading. Most men ruin attraction not because they lack qualities, but because they rush the process. They confuse speed with success. They believe the faster they confess feelings, the quicker they reveal their past, the sooner they declare intentions, the more likely they are to lock her down. But what actually happens? They overwhelm her. They suffocate the natural tension that desire requires. They reveal the entire mystery in one act, and once the curtain falls, there is nothing left to discover. Machiavelli wrote that the art of ruling is often the art of timing, knowing when to act, when to wait, when to reveal strength, and when to hide it. In attraction, timing functions the same way. Reveal too much too soon, and you collapse interest. Reveal too little for too long, and you create distance. The mastery lies in pacing, delivering just enough at the right moment to keep her invested, engaged, and chasing the next revelation. Think of attraction like a game of poker. If someone lays down their entire hand on the table from the beginning, there's no game left to play. The mystery is gone, the strategy is over, the outcome is clear. But the player who reveals his cards strategically, one by one, keeps everyone else guessing. He keeps them engaged. He forces them to spend energy trying to understand what he's holding back. This is exactly how attraction works. When you rush, you deny her the opportunity to earn deeper access to you. You hand her the treasure before she's invested in the hunt, and treasures given freely are never valued. But when you pace things, revealing a little, then pulling back, showing depth but not all at once, you create anticipation. You build suspense. You make her work for the next layer. And what people work for, they value. Consider this in conversation. Most men, when asked about their life, spill everything. Childhood stories, heartbreaks, career struggles, family drama, all in one sitting. They believe honesty equals intimacy. But true intimacy isn't built on a single outpouring. It's built over time as each new layer is earned. A better approach? Share something intriguing but incomplete. A story that hints at depth without explaining it fully. A statement that sparks curiosity but leaves questions unanswered. This forces her mind to circle back to you long after the conversation ends. The same applies to physical and emotional intimacy. Men who rush toward it think they're proving confidence. But confidence doesn't need to rush. It controls the pace. It knows that what comes slowly is valued more deeply. A connection that unfolds gradually feels earned, not given. It creates the impression that there is always more to discover, more to unlock, more to crave. And that impression keeps her hooked. Machiavelli emphasized that unpredictability is a form of power. In politics, a prince who acts at unexpected moments keeps his enemies uncertain. In attraction, pacing creates that same uncertainty. If she always knows exactly when you'll call, exactly how much you'll reveal, exactly when you'll open up, she loses interest. But if she feels you reveal yourself on your terms, not hers, she respects it. She values it. She chases it. Here's the paradox. By slowing down, you accelerate desire. By pacing the revelation of who you are, you make her invest more energy, more thought, more curiosity. You transform every interaction into an event, every conversation into a puzzle, every meeting into an unfolding story. And the story she can't finish is the story she can't stop reading. So remember, attraction isn't about speed. It's about suspense. It's about timing. It's about holding back enough to make her lean in, keeping the tension alive, revealing strategically, never all at once. Because the man who rushes gives everything away and loses power. But the man who paces creates endless anticipation, and anticipation is the essence of desire. If you're ready to take these strategies beyond theory, check the pinned comment. The link I left there is the next step to becoming truly untouchable. Niccolò Machiavelli wrote that every ruler must master two natures, the lion and the fox. The lion represents strength, dominance, and directness. The fox represents cunning, subtlety, and adaptability. A prince who relies only on the lion is predictable and can be outmaneuvered. A prince who relies only on the fox lacks the force to command respect, but a prince who embodies both is unstoppable. He can strike with power and evade with intelligence. This same duality applies to attraction. If you want to command desire, you must be both lion and fox. Most men fail because they are neither. They approach women like sheep, too soft, too transparent, too desperate to be liked. They reveal every thought, explain every action, and collapse under the slightest test. When challenged, they justify themselves endlessly, proving weakness instead of authority. On the opposite end, some men overcompensate, becoming only lion. They roar, they posture, they dominate every interaction, thinking aggression is strength. But pure force without finesse breeds resistance, not attraction. Women may notice them, but they rarely stay. Why? Because dominance without subtlety becomes exhausting. The mastery lies in combining the two. The lion is your strength, the clarity of your boundaries, the confidence in your presence, the willingness to walk away rather than beg. The fox is your intelligence, the ability to read situations, to adapt to her energy, to remain unpredictable. When you are both, she cannot fully map you. She feels your power, but she also feels your cunning. She sees your strength, but she also senses your patience. This duality keeps her hooked because she never feels she has completely figured you out. Consider an interaction. She tests you by going silent, waiting to see if you'll panic. The sheep man sends 3 follow-up texts, apologizing for imaginary offenses. The lion man ignores her entirely, closing the door with cold indifference. Both fail. The sheep loses respect by overreacting. The lion loses intrigue by being too rigid. The fox-lion hybrid, however, does something different. He waits. He continues living his life. And when he finally responds, it is calm, measured, and slightly unpredictable. He neither chases nor withdraws completely. He adapts. And that unpredictability forces her to keep guessing. Or imagine she compliments another man in front of you. The sheep gets jealous and insecure. The pure lion gets aggressive and territorial. But the fox-lion hybrid smiles, unshaken, subtly shifts the energy and reclaims her focus without ever appearing threatened. His strength communicates that he cannot be replaced. His cunning communicates that he doesn't need to fight for what is already his. And this balance creates a magnetic pull that no single approach could achieve alone. Machiavelli warned that rulers who rely only on brute force eventually fall because their enemies learn to anticipate them. Likewise, a man who relies only on dominance quickly becomes predictable and exhausting. He may win attention for a moment, but he cannot sustain desire. On the other hand, a man who relies only on cunning risks being seen as slippery, untrustworthy, or weak. But when you combine the two, you become something rare. Powerful, yet adaptable, strong, yet elusive, present, yet mysterious. This principle is not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about developing both aspects within yourself. The lion is your self-respect, your refusal to be treated as less than you are. The fox is your strategy, your ability to remain unreadable, to never give more information than necessary, to keep her working for clarity. Together, they make you the man she cannot predict, cannot control, and therefore cannot forget. The truth is simple. Women are not drawn to men who are easy to decode. They are drawn to men who embody contradictions, strong but calm, confident but patient, present but mysterious. The lion makes her feel safe in your strength. The fox makes her crave the puzzle of who you really are. And it is in that tension between clarity and intrigue that desire thrives. Attraction is not a mystery once you see it for what it truly is. Power dynamics disguised as romance. Most men fail because they've been conditioned to play the wrong role. They believe their value comes from giving endlessly, proving themselves, explaining themselves, chasing validation at any cost. But Machiavelli's principles reveal the truth. The man who gives too much loses power. The man who reveals too much loses mystery. And the man who rushes too quickly loses intrigue. Attraction is not about proving your worth. It is about positioning yourself as the one who must be pursued. When you embody scarcity, she starts valuing what others give away freely. When you demand reciprocity, she starts working to maintain your attention. When you cultivate mystery, She invests more energy trying to decode you. When you control pacing, she learns to anticipate you, crave you, chase you. And when you master the duality of lion and fox, you become untouchable, respected for your strength, desired for your unpredictability. This is the transformation. You stop being the man who fights for scraps of attention, and you become the man whose attention is the prize. Notice how the roles reverse. The man who once begged for replies is now the man she checks her phone for. The man who once over-explained himself is now the man she analyzes in silence. The man who once rushed to reveal everything is now the man she cannot fully figure out. And this reversal is not manipulation. It is reality aligned with psychology. Humans crave what they cannot control. They desire what they cannot fully possess. And when you become that, obsession becomes inevitable. Machiavelli taught that true power is not in force but in perception. A prince who must constantly remind his people of his authority has already lost it. Likewise, a man who must constantly prove his worth has already diminished it. Your value is not in your words. It is in your presence. It is in your discipline. It is in the way you choose what to reveal and what to withhold. Power comes not from chasing, but from standing still and making others move around you. If you're ready to take these strategies beyond theory, check the pinned comment. The link I left there is the next step to becoming truly untouchable. Now imagine living this. You no longer panic when she goes silent. You wait, you let her wonder. You no longer collapse when she tests you. You stand firm, unshaken. You no longer reveal everything at once. You let her earn the privilege of knowing you. And because she must earn it, she values it. You are no longer another man orbiting her. You are the center she orbits. You are not chasing her validation. You are commanding her respect. And once you reach this point, the game is no longer about getting her. It's about deciding if she is truly worthy of you. This is the final shift. Most men enter relationships desperate to be chosen, but the strategist, the man who embodies Machiavelli's principles, is the one who chooses. And that choice changes everything. You stop existing in her world of abundance and become the scarcity she cannot live without. You stop hoping to be remembered and become the presence she cannot forget. And once you stand in that position, you never beg for attention again. You become the one she fights to hold on to. So the question is not, how do I make her want me? The real question is, are you willing to become the man who makes her fight to keep you?